Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Cheryl Hefford and I am the Professional Advisor at the Physiotherapy Board. One of the tasks of the Board is to set the required standards of competence for physiotherapists under the Health Practitioners Competence Assurance Act. In New Zealand, from the 31st of May 2016, the Physiotherapy Competencies document will be replaced by the binational Australia and Aotearoa New Zealand physiotherapy practice thresholds. The new thresholds were launched by the Australian and New Zealand Physiotherapy Boards in May 2015, following extensive consultation over 2 years, which many of you may have participated in. Now we're talking about their implementation in New Zealand. The binational thresholds set out the entry-level requirements for initial and continuing registration as a physiotherapist in both Australia and New Zealand. They are used as a reference point by the Physiotherapy Board for registration, competence review, and the accreditation of physiotherapy undergraduate program. As a practicing New Zealand physiotherapist, the thresholds are a new reference point for you, so it's worthwhile familiarising yourself with the new thresholds as they describe contemporary physiotherapy practice. Firstly, you need to be aware of the essential components. These are holistic requirements that apply to all areas of your physiotherapy practice, including the other components of the new physiotherapy thresholds that we'll come to in a moment. The essential components cover areas like professional and ethical behaviours, cultural competence, and reflective practice. They're the bedrock of safe, modern physiotherapy practice. The main part of the new thresholds are the 21 key competencies, which are grouped into 7 thematic roles, with detailed enabling components that give you the essential and measurable characteristics of threshold competence. In other words, the key competencies set out the benchmarks for assessing whether someone is competent and fit to practice. Let's look at an example. The physiotherapy practitioner is the first of the 7 roles. The definition sets out the intent of the role, but the key competencies tell you the specific requirements of the board. So the first of these key competencies requires registered physiotherapists in Australia and New Zealand are able to plan and implement an efficient, effective, culturally responsive and client-centred physiotherapy assessment. This key competency has 9 enabling components. For example, 1.1d requires that the physiotherapists are able to incorporate relevant diagnostic tests, assessment tools and outcome measures during the physiotherapy assessment. The third part of the new thresholds are the foundational abilities. The learning and assessment of these abilities will have been covered in the physiotherapist studies leading to their primary physiotherapy qualification. With the new thresholds, there is a shift in emphasis rather than any major change in how physiotherapists treat patients. The thresholds are more inclusive of the different types of physiotherapy practitioner, such as managers and leaders. They emphasize the professional and ethical practitioner. One of the requirements is to look after your physical and mental health. The thresholds include advocacy for patients and their rights to healthcare, as well as advocacy for the profession. There is a greater emphasis on the collaborative practitioner, such as working interprofessionally in a culturally responsive, client-centred model of practice. One of the biggest changes, particularly for overseas applicants, is the acknowledgement that physiotherapists usually focus on particular areas of expertise during their careers. There's been a shift away from demonstrating recent clinical practice in musculoskeletal, cardiopulmonary, respiratory, and neurology to a focus on the person. Knowledge and understanding of the 3 core areas and other body systems is still included in the underlying foundational abilities. However, the requirement to demonstrate autonomous practice in all these areas, as was the case in the old Competency 9.4, has been removed. Other areas of greater emphasis include risk management, recognising inappropriate or unethical practice, and ensuring physiotherapists work within their scope of practice and expertise. I encourage you to download the new Australia and Aotearoa New Zealand Physiotherapy Practice Thresholds document for your own reference as they describe the competence required for contemporary physiotherapy practice. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.